what I would look for in a man, I mean, it was very surface.
Okay.
Does he, make me like feel like I have butterflies in my stomach?
Yes.
And, is he buying me roses? And is he taking me out to dinner? And is he being, this romantic guy? And is the physical aspect, is that a
Yes.
check mark? You know what I mean?
Right.
But then when you settle down and you start realizing, hey, I've already done my time, in the sense of I've partied, I've went out, I've danced, I've traveled, I've done all of these things and I've had all these experiences. And now I'm actually responsible for another life. What am I looking for in a man?
Welcome to the Womanhood Lectures, where we bring you topics and discussions on issues that matter to you, the modern day woman. I'm one of your hosts, Yasmin.
And I'm Lyra. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we are open to comments. We realize that we are opinionated moms, career women, and it may not resonate with you what we're talking about, but keep what you feel resonates with you in your heart, and anything else, just put it away. With that being said, our topic today is
we're going to be talking about the things that we look for in a man or in a partner, and how that's changed from when we were younger to when you get older. I think people's tastes change, but as a woman, I think there's a big difference between when you're dating and looking for a partner when you're, say, 18, 20, 22,
right,
versus in your 30s or 40s. And so how do we maintain those relationships? We've been married for,
too long,
for a very long time.
We talked about
and we dated young.
Yes,
right. And ended up with those guys young. So what would be, I'm sort of curious to know, what would we be telling our daughters to look for in a partner, given our experience over time and our experience with our relationships, and even what are other women looking for in partners, right? In husbands and partners now versus what would they have been looking for in their 20s,
right?
I have a lot of friends who got married around that time, right after we all graduated from university around the same time, and got married within 5 years of graduation. So we were all in our 20s.
Right.
That's, my friend group anyways. What about you?
I got married a little late, but I've been with my husband for 18 years. Prior to that, I mean, in relationships, I was really just... I think I experienced my teenage life and then my 20s a little differently. I was really not interested in men in the sense that, I'm going to settle down with somebody and I'm going to have this long-term relationship until I got a little bit older. Right. Okay. And obviously I had my first child and I was like, okay, shit is real right now. I gotta grow up. I gotta be responsible for my daughter. And, prior to that, I wasn't really focused on commitment. I would say. And what I would look for in a man, I mean, it was very surface.
Okay.
Does he, make me like feel like I have butterflies in my stomach?
Yes.
And, is he buying me roses? And is he taking me out to dinner? And is he being, this romantic guy? And is the physical aspect, is that a check mark? You know what I mean?
Right.
But then when you settle down and you start realizing, hey, I've already done my time, in the sense of I've partied, I've went out, I've danced, I've traveled, I've done all of these things and I've had all these experiences. And now I'm actually responsible for another life. What am I looking for in a man? Right.
So, I mean, when you're younger, you're kind of, and this is something that I think a lot of teenage girls go through.
Right.
They go through their bad boy phase.
Right.
Right. You're so attracted to someone who seems like they're on the edge. They're very cool. They're very bad. They're whatever. Right. They're maybe not so interested in you.
And they're pretty.
And they're pretty.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
You end up being like, it ends up being really exciting for you. So I feel like when you're young, you're always looking for that excitement piece and you're looking for that emotional kind of high out of your relationship. Would you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an emotional high for sure. Not to say that you don't want it as you get older. Not to say that after 18 years of marriage, you don't want to have a physical relationship with your
and
partner.
that high emotional.
Or have that emotion.
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, we often think of marriage as being like, okay, you're dead now, you know? You've died.
You settled, you're done. You don't need to do anything anymore.
You're not dead. You know,
Yeah.
if anything, you have an opportunity to make it the most amazing thing ever, you know, when you're married to somebody. But there's all these different aspects that come into play. So now when I look at my two daughters who are, you know, one of them started dating, right? And I'm like, you know, it's a scary, scary time because you're thinking, what is she looking for? Like, who is this person? You know, and the first thing that came to me was like, does he have his head on his shoulders?
Okay.
Is he working? Does he, you know, is he apt in school? Is he doing well in school? Is he have a direction that he's going to in his life? Without my daughter.
Yep.
Without my daughter. Like, does he
Is
have
he an
goals?
individual doing his own thing?
Right. So as a mother and as obviously an older woman, I want that for my daughter to have somebody who has their head on straight. All that other stuff that, you know, oh, he called me poopy or whatever. All that stuff is like, you know, and he got me roses and he took me to here and he took me there. All that stuff is going to just float away because you can have that with a lot of people.
Okay.
But to actually have someone that, you know, wants to do better in his life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for you then, so if you take yourself back to when you were in your teens and early 20s, for example,
yes,
you were looking for excitement, someone who's good looking, and it's all the fun stuff.
Yes. And I did find that, by the way.
Yeah. Right.
But,
and then the switch came for you after you had kids, or did you
after I had children? Yeah. Where I was like, you know, we have to be responsible adults, right? And you have to look for the things in your partner that, you know, are going to carry you for the rest of your life. Right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a committed person and you want to be with somebody for a long period of time, you have to, you know, it's not easy. Like, you know, you have to listen to them snore. You have to, you have to smell
Socks
them. They have certain
underwear
smells
beside the laundry basket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain quirks that they have and certain things that they do. I know for mine, my husband is very stubborn. So it's something I have to adapt to. I've had to adapt to over the past 18 years. So those are things that I tell my daughters to expect.
Okay.
I tell them, expect that person is not going to be perfect.
Okay.
You know, and expect possibly heartbreak.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happens in this new age, in this modern world, is that there's men out there who, you know, don't have their stuff together and aren't really serious and maybe, you know, trying to look at grass being greener on the other side. Right. So that's what I tell my daughters. Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. You know, teenage boys,
they still have a lot of growing up to do.
They got a long way to go. Right. Not to knock them. I have a teenage boy. He's just a teenager now.
Okay.
But honestly, I mean, the human brain takes up until age 28 to fully develop. That frontal lobe.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Those kids are not fully formed until their late 20s, really, in terms of their cognitive abilities, in terms of their ability to see into the future and make choices that they know are going to affect them later. They don't think about that.
Right.
Even in your early and mid 20s, you're not really mature. You're not cognitively mature. Okay. So I feel like that's something that I kind of talk to my kids about is, you know, for this moment in your life and at this stage in your life, this is what's appropriate. Yes, go have fun,
enjoy yourself,
you know, kind of explore your life. Understand that right now you have a nest, you have somewhere called home that you can always come back to. Right. So you can kind of go out in the world and make mistakes. When you're looking for a partner, I always tell them, like, it really depends on what you want your outcome to be. And I know a lot of teenagers kind of say, oh, you know, I really love this person. They think forever, like, oh, I just want to be with them forever, but they don't actually really want to be with them forever. Right. Like it's a lot of lip service. So I tell them, like, just be realistic about the fact that the person that you're with is also going to be changing, and they're growing and they're changing every day and evolving just like you.
Exactly.
So today you feel a certain way and tomorrow you feel different. Guess what? So is he. So is she. Right. So you can't, so I always kind of give them this little warning about, allow other people to make mistakes too. Because you're making mistakes, you're trying to figure it out as you go. You're just doing the best that you can, and you're also genuinely, putting forth a good intention when you're doing things. So try to assume that they're putting forth a good intention as well,
right?
Even when they mess up, because young love is so hard. You find it so hard. It's so heartbreaking at that age. Like it's like the world is. Don't you? Yes. Like I remember feeling the world was just going to end if my boyfriend and I broke up.
I think it
like
did.
There would be like
there was
nothing
crying
beyond
and there
that.
was like pure upsetness.
There's a whole hella wailing. Are you kidding me?
Not eating,
right?
Sleeping in the corner, listening to music, and being super depressed because of a breakup. It's a real thing for sure when it's young love. But what they're looking for, and what my daughter, for example, was looking for, is someone to keep her company, companionship, right? But when I guess maybe in our discussion, as we're talking about what we're looking for, like what would you say is the qualities that you would look for your daughter? If you were to pick them out right now, she's 25 years old and she's, wants to settle down and she wants to be married. What are the qualities that you would say that man would need?
Yeah, I would say that I'd like him to have good self-discipline. We've talked about this before.
Huge, yes.
Yeah, good self-discipline. Whether he, and I don't know, the whole education piece, I'm sort of flip-floppy about, because I think depending on what a person wants to do, post-secondary education is really important if you want to specialize in something. Right. And it's not so important if you're kind of generalizing and you want to get work experience and maybe go into real estate or go into business, for example. Yeah. Not necessary. So I kind of give them, I would really want someone who's very focused and who has some sort of life goals, right? Like someone who wants to work towards building a life, someone who is monogamous, right? Someone who is sort of done their playing around and dating around and actually feels like they do want a committed relationship. Right. I mean, that's number one. Like if you're going to date someone, you got to be on the same page. Like, I want a committed relationship. Do you want a committed relationship or not? That's first. And then beyond that, each of my kids is very different. So I would want them to have people who actually complement them.
Right.
Right. So one of them might be a very soft person. I would say pick someone who's not going to be necessarily super aggressive.
Right.
Because that's going to be really hard for you to deal with long term. Right. You're not going to want to be, if you're a quiet person and that person's really loud and they like to fight it out and you don't, oh my gosh, like how much stress are you going to be putting yourself through, right? Sure. So look for complementary traits in the person. Mm-hmm. Look for someone who makes you feel safe. I think that's a big thing for women. Find safety, a partner for sure, who makes you feel safe. Not that you depend on them for your safety, but that you feel safe around. You feel safe enough to be vulnerable. You feel safe enough to feel like they have your back. They will go to bat for you. They will support you. They will take care of you, right? And that can be emotionally, that can be financially, physically. All of those things play into the fact that we as women often go through the world and we just don't ever feel safe.
We don't.
Like it's so remarkable to me that girls and women generally have this, like, there's always this thing of, I'm looking around my environment to see if I'm okay.
Yes.
Right? There's always that feeling. And I don't think men actually understand that, because we are generally, the people who have been perpetrated against, yes, right? Like physical violence, all of that kind of stuff is like baked into the female psyche of always kind of being on alert.
Yes.
Don't you find?
I say this all the time.
There's this little thing always in the back of your mind, whether it's maybe you're not feeling like that someone's going to attack you, but there's always this thing that someone is might be.
You have to just be aware.
You just have to always be aware.
Yes.
Yeah. There's this a little bit of this hyper awareness as a woman. And so feeling safe with your partner is probably number one. That's probably the number one thing I would tell my kids to look for in a partner.
Right.
Do they make you feel safe? Do you feel like you can actually be yourself?
Right.
Right.
I also think with that safety is also like trust, like trusting that. And I would say this to my daughter as her experience in a relationship. Like if that person is saying something to you that they're going to do, are they actually following through with it? That helps you build that trust.
Yep.
Right. So saying something and completing it and completing the task, or saying you're going to get this done, you do it. You know what I mean? To show her that he means what he says.
Yes.
That's so important.
Yeah. Taking responsibility.
So exactly. Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like how we were talking about before, when you can keep your word.
Yes.
About something, even little things. I'm going to show up and pick you up at a certain time, and you're not perpetually late, or you're not perpetually flaking out and saying, oh, last minute, sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
That's
true.
That's something.
Yes.
That's something to really consider. Is that someone that you really want to build a life with? Because you need someone who can be consistent. You need someone who can actually follow through, like you said, with, are they going to do what they say they're going to do? Do they mean what they say? Let me see the action that follows, right? Because that's, at the end of the day, your actions are the only things that other people can see. They can't see your intentions. They interpret your intentions based on your actions. So you got to show people, if you're serious about it. I'm trying to think what else would be a really good thing. I mean, obviously, you'd want someone who can be loving and
yes.
compassionate and kind, right?
Right.
Just generally speaking, you want someone. For my kids, I think they need people who are very warm,
yeah, and nurturing. I think there's a nurturing quality that I think men can have.
Absolutely.
I know sometimes people shy away from having that discussion, but because it's not a masculine trait to be nurturing, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I think it's
and you
beautiful.
know what? And you need that when you have kids.
Yes,
yeah,
you
absolutely,
do.
And they're all capable of it.
So I would say also looking for a man who would be a great dad. Somebody who would be supportive for their children, is going to show up and be there, helping with the Ubering and helping with the cooking and the cleaning, like just being somebody who's there, who shows up, that you don't feel like you have to come home and, there's somebody who cares about you.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone who's actually going to put in the effort.
Exactly.
Let's try that. Like some people aren't really great at doing things right here, not great at the housekeeping. I know that, but I put the effort in. Right. I have the intention to, I put the effort in, I do my best.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's always that intention of like, yes, I'm going to do the best that I can. And it may not be perfect to your standards, but I'm still showing up.
Exactly.
Right. So someone who has that sort of open heart to want to show up for you, and who wants to actually be the kind of partner that you need,
right?
Versus just showing up and saying, this is just who I am, take it or leave it. That's fine. Some people are great that way. Some people are like, this is who I am and I can't, compromise or be any different. So that gives you the choice, that at least you know who you're dealing with, and exactly. You can choose that. But I think for a lot of people, you want someone who can at least communicate with you and who can have that give and take and compromise in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Mm-hmm. One other aspect I wanted to ask you about, it's a big one. So what do you think about spirituality?
Oh, spirituality is a really, really personal thing. The thing with that is, and I think a lot of people deal with this when they come from maybe different religious backgrounds, for example.
Yep.
My family, same thing. My parents came from different religious backgrounds, and it can be really tricky when you're bringing up children. I think you have to have that discussion before you get married.
Yes.
You have to be on the same page about whatever your agreement is. If you share similar values, it's much easier. It just is, because then you kind of both know that you're going to raise your children a certain way. You're going to impart certain values to them.
Right.
And you're both going to take responsibilities that you're both generally aware of, right? If you have differences and you come from different backgrounds, there's so much more negotiation to...
So much more, right?
So much more. And you both have to be very willing to be constantly communicating, improving and also having that give and take. So you can't have one person who gets really stuck and really maybe rigid or fanatic about it and expects everyone to follow them.
Right.
That doesn't make for a good relationship.
It doesn't.
It's not. It's very difficult, right? You put so much pressure on your partner who essentially didn't sign up for that, or maybe didn't know about that going in.
Right.
I know a lot of people who, they go into a marriage or in a relationship and find out later down the road that this person is, very particular about certain things when it comes to their spirituality, their religion, for example, whether it be, this is how I want to live my life, or this is how I want to raise children, and it's very different. Again, it can be done.
Can they make it work?
They can, if you have both people, again, who are willing to actually have that give and take.
Right.
So there are going to be times where one person maybe has to compromise something.
Right.
And the other person might too, right? But you have to be able to meet somewhere.
Absolutely. So in my culture, like in India, it happens a lot where, you'll have, at least recently, more recent, you weren't really allowed to in the past, but Hindus would marry Muslims. I know, like, my brother is a Catholic. He married somebody who's Sikh. So there's definitely compromise that happens, right? When my brother did get married, he had like a Catholic wedding and then he had a Sikh wedding. He had two separate weddings, which is a celebration of their love in both religions, right? But yes, they kind of knew exactly how they were going to raise their kids. All the values were kind of set up with, this is what we're going to do, this is what we believe in, this is how we're going to raise them, with their same, with the same values and belief system.
But the thing is, I think people don't realize that when you get married, and I think we know this based on our cultures, your families are marrying each other.
Yes.
It's not just you.
Exactly.
It isn't. What are you going to do when it comes to big celebrations, religious celebrations, holidays,
right?
Your kids' birthday parties, like all of these things, every single time you get together as a family, there you go. You need people who are going to be able to mesh.
Right.
Right. Or you need people who are going to be very open to understanding that certain things might be different than how they normally celebrate it. Or you need a set of two of everything, right? It's that mutual respect that you have to, and you have to set that up at the beginning, right? You can't expect that later.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very difficult because, once you set that sort of foundation, like, this is what we're going to do, these are the values that we're going to impart to our kids, this is how we're going to celebrate certain holidays, these are the things that I want to observe, and I want my kids to observe as well, right? Like, if you're marrying, if someone's Muslim and they fast for a month, I mean, and you're not, and you don't, do you want your kids to do that or not? Like, these are the nitty gritty questions you have to ask,
right? And you have to be very clear,
because you can't get mad later, right?
You can't, absolutely.
You can't say, well, now we're going to do this. Well, you didn't tell me that before,
right?
Now I have to rearrange. Now I really have to rearrange how I think about things, how I approach my life, because once you're together and you create that family, everything affects everyone.
So it's really, if we're going to give that advice to our daughters, it's going to be, have the discussion, talk about it, because spirituality is a big thing.
Yep.
Physical relationship is a big thing. Emotional relationship, the way that, your partner shows up for you. Are they fulfilling you emotionally? Are they compassionate towards you? Are they kind? Are they helpful around the house? That's huge. Like, honestly, it's very big because you don't realize that. I mean, I know that, like, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And after raising kids and then obviously having to juggle career and, work and the schedules of life, like, it's really, if I was to give this advice to my daughter, I'd say you'd have to find somebody who helps you, who's helpful.
Yes.
Who's helpful in the house, right? That's huge.
Or who can be a little bit self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient,
right?
yes. That you're not raising another child, right? I'm trying to teach my kids right
now, at least all of them can do their own laundry,
okay,
right? Like, I don't want my son to kind of go out in the world and then if he gets married later to really not be able to do anything. That's not fair.
Right, exactly.
I can't hand him off to a woman like that.
That's great.
No, he can't cook yet or anything, but, like, I want him to be able to do some things and feel like he's not going to be waiting around.
Yes.
And turn his wife into his mother.
Right.
That's not happening. No, you can't do that. That's not fair.
You can't turn your wife into your mom.
That's not nice,
yes.
right? That's not
Very
good.
much.
Yeah,
So,
that doesn't make for a good relationship, right?
It doesn't.
It makes you this.
There's so much conflict,
and it creates this dynamic of parent-child with your partner, which is so icky. I think, right? It's just like, come on, I don't want to be your mother.
Yeah.
And same vice versa, right? I want my girls to be sufficient enough that they're not kind of these like baby girls that their husbands have to take care of. Or,
I know.
You know what I mean?
I'm working on it.
That their partners have to really.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you kind of want them to be a little bit self-sufficient, and you want them to find a partner who can also match them in that way.
Right.
Right.
Do you think teenagers are even thinking about this stuff?
Probably
No,
not.
they don't give.
No,
they don't care.
No. But when you're in your 20s and your 30s and you're looking for a long-term relationship,
right?
These are the things that you really need to think about.
Yes.
Right. Even if you're only living with somebody, these things are still going to come up.
Yeah.
Right.
And being able to work through it and saying, you know what, this is how you stay together. This is how you improve. This is how you evolve together.
Right.
You have to really discuss all of these things. You know, it can't just be a surface relationship where, you know, you get your satisfaction. Because we talked about it in our Love Languages show, actually, how within the first 2 years, that's the average, all the romantic love like dissipates, right? And then it's reality just like slaps you in the face, and you have to work on a relationship. It's always work.
Yeah.
So
it can be fun.
It can be fun.
Absolutely. Because think about it. You know, when you're in a deeply committed relationship,
right?
That's actually a great opportunity for you to explore yourself more. Right? You're no longer in this mode of, I have to try to, we all do this, right? I have to try to impress this person. I have to be sort of put on my best face,
right?
My best self all the time. I can't be too whatever.
It gives you an opportunity to be your authentic self.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. In a really like beautiful, wholesome, honest way with another human being who's also kind of learning how to be their own authentic self.
Yes. Right? And navigating this crazy world we live in, right?
Gosh, yeah. It's a beautiful dance. But yeah, it is so crazy. So yeah, I would say, you know, a lot of the things that I would want for my kids if they were to look for a long-term partner, it would depend on their age. And it would depend on, are you looking for marriage? Okay, here are the things that I can say from a perspective of someone who has been married that I think would be important for you.
Right.
Right. So someone who can match you, someone who can help out, someone who can be an equal partner in the home with you.
Right.
Right. Someone who respects your decision making or respects your opinions. Right. And again, like all different kinds of relationships are different. And sometimes there's more of a dynamic where you know, one partner takes on the lead role. Right. That's fine. You have to be a good supporting person, and you have to be okay with that. You can't have two people also who are like fighting to say, I want my way all the time.
Right.
Right. Or I want to be the leader. And then you have a really strong a strong woman who's like, no, you can't tell me what to do. But then she marries a strong man, for example, who's used to taking the lead. What do you do then? Right. There can be a lot of conflict there. So yeah, I think you need to know yourself really well, so that you can make a good choice for who's a good partner for you, because that is going to vary from person to person.
True. So you can't just always just look at the exterior, and that's what I always tell my girls. You can't always look at the outside of a person. You know what I mean? It has to, like, there's so many things that are just going to be reality in the future for you, and that all those things are going to dissipate. It's just going to be a meat suit at that point, right? But the reality is you're going to have to live with that person day in, day out.
Yes.
And it's really your responsibility to get to know them and to really know exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. And what you're getting into, and know yourself.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have, you need to also be working on your own emotional intelligence.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yes.
Because you can't just go in somewhere and expect someone to just deal with you if you're full of crap too. Right? Like
it's true.
Right? If you're the asshole, it's not really fun.
Yeah.
So you really need to know yourself really well and choose wisely.
I think emotional intelligence is like a show altogether.
Oh, a whole show.
We can talk about that for a while, right? Emotional intelligence. It's hard. It's hard to navigate through, right? And it's something you have to teach your kids. But how you teach your kids emotional intelligence sometimes is just by being at peace around them.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's great for today.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And if you find value in our content, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.